late today recusing himself from any investigations linked to the Trump campaign and Russia. Tonight, did he mislead senators at his confirmation hearing when he said he didn't have communications with the Russians? Tonight, explaining his 2 meetings with the Russian ambassador. The new images released tonight, the Russian fighter jets buzzing the American destroyer USS Porter. What the Pentagon is now saying. The deadly police chase, the disturbing video now emerging. The teen pulled from his pickup truck by deputies, tasing him, a deputy with his knee on the young man's neck. The family asking why did they wait before CPR? He did not survive. The damaging winds, the ice-covered highways, the pileup, and trees coming down. And tonight, the blast of cold now moving in. And video from inside this home, and the warning tonight for families across the country when you put your house on the market.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin with the major headline from Washington tonight. President Trump's Attorney General Jeff Sessions revealing he will recuse himself from any investigation into the Trump campaign. It comes after the Attorney General did not reveal during his confirmation hearings that he met with the Russian ambassador twice during the campaign. And tonight we are also learning the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, also met with the Russian ambassador before the president was inaugurated, along with General Mike Flynn. Flynn, of course, forced to resign as national security advisor. Tonight, the Attorney General with his own explanation. Our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, leading us off.
Tonight, the dramatic announcement in Washington. Attorney General Jeff Sessions stepping back from any investigation into Russian interference in the election, amid accusations he misled the Senate about his own communications with Russian officials.
I have now decided to recuse myself from any existing or future investigations of any matter relating in any way to the campaigns for President of the United States.
It comes down to this moment from the Attorney General's Senate confirmation hearing. Sessions saying he had no contact with the Russians during the campaign.
If there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do?
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I not have communications with the Russians.
But it turns out he did. The Washington Post first reporting Sessions met with Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak twice in the final months of the campaign. First at a gathering in Cleveland during the Republican National Convention, and again on September 8th in Sessions' Senate office.
We need to make America great again.
Sessions was one of Trump's top advisors in the campaign, the first sitting senator to endorse him. His September meeting with the Russian ambassador came in the middle of the controversy over the election hacking, and just one day after candidate Trump said this about Russian President Vladimir Putin.
If he says great things about me, I'm going to say great things about him. He's been a leader far more than our president has been a leader.
So did that moment come up in Sessions' meeting with the Russian ambassador? Today, Sessions says he does not remember what, if anything, they discussed about the campaign.
I don't recall, but most of these ambassadors are pretty gossipy, and they liked, this was in the campaign season, but I don't recall any specific political discussion.
Sessions said he met with Kislyak purely in his capacity as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and that the meeting during the GOP convention was a brief encounter with other ambassadors present.
Let me be clear. I never had meetings with Russian operatives or Russian intermediaries about the Trump campaign. And the idea that I was part of a, quote, continuing exchange of information during the campaign between Trump surrogates and intermediaries for the Russian government is totally false.
But the Attorney General acknowledged today that he could have been more forthcoming at his confirmation hearing, saying he was, quote, taken aback by Senator Franken's question.
In retrospect, if I should have slowed down and said, but I did meet one Russian official a couple of times, that would be the ambassador.
And Pierre Thomas with us live from the Justice Department tonight. And Pierre, what's the status of the investigation into Russia's meddling at this point into the election? And what happens now that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, has recused himself? Who takes over?
The FBI is still investigating Russian interference in the election, still searching to see if anyone tied to Trump had contact with Russian intelligence. And the investigation of the Russians now will be overseen by Acting Deputy Attorney General Dana Bente, appointed by President Obama. David?
Pierre Thomas there at the Justice Department, and a Trump supporter behind him proudly waving that flag. In the meantime, President Trump and the White House saying they did not know that Jeff Sessions met with the ambassador during the campaign. The president, during a visit to an aircraft carrier in Virginia today, standing by his attorney general, saying he shouldn't recuse himself. But a short time later on national television, that is exactly what he did. ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega from Norfolk.
During a tour of a new aircraft carrier in Virginia today, President Trump offering his full support for his embattled attorney general.
Mr. President, do you still have confidence in the attorney general?
Total.
Still, the president saying he had no idea about Jeff Sessions' conversations with the Russian ambassador.
When were you aware that he spoke to the Russian ambassador?
I wasn't aware at all.
In fact, White House sources tell ABC News administration officials first learned about that contact overnight when the story broke in the Washington Post. Today, what should have been a victory lap after the president's speech to Congress was overshadowed by yet another round of questions about his team's contacts with Russia during the campaign. For months, the president insisting there were no contacts. To me in January...
Did you or anyone in your campaign have any contact with Russia leading up to or during the campaign? Nothing at all.
Not at all, he said. And to ABC's John Carl 2 weeks ago.
Can you say definitively that nobody on your campaign had any contacts with the Russians during the campaign? And on the leaks, is it fake news or are these real leaks?
Well, the leaks are real. You're the one that wrote about them and reported them.
The first part of my question, the contacts, can you definitively say that nobody...
Well,
on
I
your
had
campaign...
nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with Russia. I told you. I have no deals there. I have no anything.
He has already lost one key aide over it. The president fired his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, for lying about the nature of his conversations with the Russian ambassador. And tonight, another revelation. The president's son-in-law and senior advisor, Jared Kushner, met with Flynn and the same ambassador at Trump Tower in December, the same time the Obama administration was deciding how to punish Russia for meddling in the election. And that ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, also right there in the Capitol on Tuesday for the president's speech to Congress. The White House hoped to still be basking in the glow of that speech. Instead, they are now trying to explain their Russian connection and fending off what they call political attacks.
All right, so let's go live to Cecilia Vega. She's in Norfolk, Virginia tonight. And Cecilia, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, one of his closest aides, and now we're learning that he too met with the Russian ambassador during the transition.
He did, David, in December. The meeting, we're told, lasted about 20 minutes, and they discussed the relationship between the two countries. A White House spokeswoman tells us that Jared Kushner meets with foreign dignitaries on a regular basis. But, David, as you know right now, with these questions swirling about Russia, every contact is under the microscope.
Cecilia Vega with us again tonight. Thank you, Cecilia. And there was swift reaction on Capitol Hill. Many lawmakers on both sides have been calling on Jeff Sessions to recuse himself when the news of these meetings broke. But tonight, Democratic leaders are going even further, saying he should step down. ABC's Mary Bruce is on Capitol Hill again tonight.
For Democrats, the Attorney General's announcement is not enough. Even before he took the podium, Democrats were calling for Jeff Sessions to step down.
The fact that the Attorney General, the top cop in our country, lied under oath to the American people is grounds for him to resign.
There cannot be even the scintilla of doubt about the impartiality and fairness of the Attorney General.
On Capitol Hill today, the chorus was too loud for the Attorney General to ignore.
And why do you feel he should recuse himself?
I feel that Jeff Sessions should recuse himself in order to promote public confidence in the investigation. That, to me, would be the best approach.
Even members of his own party breaking rank. A growing number of Republicans urging Sessions to back away from the investigation.
I think it'd be best for the credibility of the investigation and also best for Jeff Sessions.
Based on what we've read and the information is not complete, I think the Attorney General should further clarify, and I do think he's going to need to recuse himself at this point.
But others are standing by him.
Are you concerned Sessions didn't disclose these meetings?
not remotely.
And some are pointing fingers.
I think Democrats are lighting their hair on fire to get you to cover this story.
The stakes made clear in this blunt tweet from President George W. Bush's top ethics lawyer, saying misleading the Senate in sworn testimony about one's own contacts with the Russians is a good way to go to jail.
All right, Mary Bruce talking with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill today. But Mary, Democrats are saying they're not going to give up this fight. They're going to try to pressure Sessions to resign, even calling for a criminal investigation tonight.
Yet, David, Democrats say this is now a question of perjury, and a group of House Democrats have sent a letter to the FBI director demanding an immediate criminal investigation. Some Democrats even want to see if Sessions will come back up here to the Hill to testify again.
All right,
David?
Mary Bruce live on Capitol Hill tonight. Mary, thank you. Meantime, there is new video emerging tonight released by the European Command of Russian aircraft buzzing a U.S. Navy destroyer in the Black Sea last month. The shaky video showing Russian fighter jets there flying within 100 yards of the Navy's USS Porter. The Pentagon now calling the flybys unsafe and unprofessional. Russia tonight saying it never happened. And in Yemen tonight, a new round of airstrikes. The Pentagon reporting more than 20 strikes on al-Qaeda targets, killing at least 7 militants. It's the first action in Yemen since the raid in January that claimed the life of Navy SEAL Ryan Owens. President Trump honoring his widow during his address to Congress. Officials today confirming that raid yielded valuable intelligence, including hundreds of contacts for al-Qaeda sympathizers, both in the region and in the West. Back here at home tonight, and to a mother and father in Georgia, seeking justice in the death of their son. Newly released dashcam video shows deputies pulling their son from his car, tasing him, one of them kneeling on his neck. Their son did not survive, and ABC's Steve Osunsami is in Georgia tonight.
The parents of the Georgia teenager behind the wheel of this pickup truck don't deny tonight that their son was on drugs and probably shouldn't have been racing away from police in the middle of the night. But they believe what happens next, after he's pulled out of the truck, is nothing but murder.
I think they should be punished.
I have never seen a cop car that says on the side to hunt down and kill. It says to protect and serve.
The police dashcam video is from 2015. 18-year-old Nicholas Dijksma is still feeling the shock from their stun guns, and now the deputies are on top of him. The part that's most difficult to watch is when one of the deputies keeps leaning his knee onto their son's neck and then turns him around and does it again. An autopsy from state investigators says it's one of the reasons he died, from compression of the neck and torso.
You still up? Turn him on the side. Hey! Nicholas, wake up!
He hadn't committed a crime, and they killed him. I got a problem with that.
The family is now suing, saying that police violated their son's civil rights and waited too long to give CPR. Authorities aren't commenting while the investigation is ongoing. David?
Steve Osunsami tonight. Thanks, Steve. Next this evening, a new corruption scandal in the Baltimore Police Department, and involves hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer money. 7 officers indicted on federal racketeering charges accused of theft and extortion. The prosecutors saying their crimes were simply robberies by people wearing police uniforms, giving themselves a lot of extra overtime. ABC's Lindsay Davis is in Baltimore tonight.
7 Baltimore City police officers are on the other side of the law tonight, arrested on racketeering charges.
These officers, they're 1930-style gangsters, as far as I'm concerned.
They were all members of an elite gun task force, and their indictment reads like a TV drama. The allegations range from robbing citizens and extorting drug dealers to filing false reports. One of the officers is even accused of possessing and intending to distribute heroin.
This is a punch in the gut for the Baltimore Police Department, but it's a reality and it's a necessity of reform.
They're also accused of stealing amounts ranging from $200 to $200,000 and putting in for fraudulent overtime. One officer was paid nearly double his salary.
Why does an investigation like this take a year? The worst thing that you can do to erode the public trust is to charge too early and not have those charges stick.
6 of the 7 officers appeared in court today and entered pleas of not guilty. For now, a judge has ordered that the officers remain behind bars. Some of them face up to life in prison. David?
Lindsay, thank you. Next, here to a swift change in the weather coming to much of the country tonight, and it comes after dangerous winds battering the east up to 60 miles an hour, and of course, that deadly tornado outbreak. Big rigs piling up in an accident on I-90. This is outside Syracuse. Those winds and plunging temperatures coating the highways with ice. The winds knocking over this tree, one crashing down on a home in Washington, D.C. And tonight, the bitter cold is now moving in. Our weather team telling us it will feel like the teens from the Great Lakes to the Northeast over the next 48 hours. Winter is not over. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. The scare at a major American airport, the new image tonight, the passenger plane, the engine exploding at the gate. That investigation now underway. The warning tonight for families across the country, video from inside this home. What to watch out for when you put your house on the market. And the story tonight behind an unlikely friendship. Former President George W. Bush revealing what was behind this moment with the former First Lady. We'll be right back.
We asked a group of young people when they thought they should start saving for retirement. Then we asked some older people when they actually did start saving. This gap between when we should start saving and when we actually do is one of the reasons why too many of us aren't prepared for retirement.
Just start as early as you can. It's going to pay off in the future.
If we all start saving a little